Hello, everyone. Now we're going to talk again about Jocelyn and the story of how she's trying to escape from Cassius's prison. But the fact that Jocelyn received help from a special person proves to be one of the new shocks. Right now, Jocelyn is locked away in that room at Windermere, and every clip we have seen shows her fighting with everything she has to get out. She sits there, studying the ceiling fixture, reaching up, working at it, until she manages to fashion a small tool from whatever she can find. That moment when the lock finally clicks open is the kind of scene that makes an old viewer like me lean forward. You want to cheer for her, because she has never been the type to sit quietly and wait for someone else to save her. She has always carried that spark her mother Carly passed down, the same determination that used to get Carly into and out of trouble back in the day. Yet the escape does not happen in a vacuum. It is tied directly to the trouble Cassius has found himself in with the assignment Sidwell gave him. Jocelyn getting free even for a few minutes is proof that Cassius is failing at the very thing Sidwell expected him to control. That single failure is already sending ripples through everything else that is happening this week. What makes these days so different from the usual hostage tales we have seen before is the shift happening with Pascal. At first, the previews made it look as though Pascal would simply walk in and stop Jocelyn before she could reach the door. That would have been the safe, expected move. But the newer turns tell a different story. Pascal is not stopping her. He is choosing to get her out himself. I have watched enough years of this program to know that when a character who has always seemed loyal suddenly steps sideways, the whole canvas changes. Pascal has clearly been weighing his options for some time. And the decision to help Jocelyn is not just about kindness. It is about where his own future lies. He wants to stand with Sonny. That choice, once it becomes clear to the people around him, turns everything upside down in the most exciting way. I keep asking myself why Pascal would risk so much for someone he has only known in passing. The answer seems to lie in the larger game that has been building quietly in the background. Sidwell has been giving orders and expecting perfect obedience. Cassius, for all his careful planning, has let things slip, and Jocelyn's attempt to break free is the visible crack in that plan. Pascal sees the crack and decides to widen it. By taking Jocelyn out of that room on his own terms, he is making a statement. He is no longer content to be the man who simply follows orders. He wants something different. Something that lines up with Sonny's world rather than the one Sidwell is trying to build. That single act of self-directed rescue is what the writers are calling a crazy adjustment. And I have to agree, it feels like one of the boldest moves we have seen in a long while. Of course, nothing in Port Charles stays hidden for long. Sidwell is already noticing the change in Pascal's behavior. The way Pascal has been moving, the quiet conversations, the sudden interest in areas of Windermere that were never his concern before, all of it adds up to something Sidwell cannot ignore. I believe Sidwell is beginning to see Pascal's actions as part of a new obsession, a fixation on protecting Jocelyn that goes beyond simple duty. Once that thought takes hold, Sidwell's response is swift and dangerous. He is not the kind of man who tolerates disloyalty inside his own circle. Now both Pascal and Jocelyn are targets. The hunt has begun, and it feels bigger and more personal than anything we have watched in recent months. This is no longer just about keeping one young woman locked away. It is about Sidwell protecting his empire by going after the very person he once trusted to keep things in order. What I find most compelling is how this new danger pulls other characters into the light even if they do not yet know it. Carly and Valentine have been operating under the belief that Jack sent Jocelyn on some WSB assignment. That belief has given them a certain calm, a sense that there is a larger plan at work. But when the truth starts to surface, when they realize Jocelyn was never on an official mission and is instead caught between Cassius's failure and Pascal's unexpected choice, the calm will disappear. I can already picture the moment Carly learns her daughter is running for her life with Pascal at her side. It will not be a quiet conversation. It will be the kind of storm we have seen from Carly before. Only this time, the stakes are higher because Sonny's name is now tied to the rescue. The writers seem to be setting up a collision between worlds that have circled each other for years, but rarely collided so directly. I have spent many evenings thinking about how this storyline differs from the older hostage plots I remember. Back then, the escape usually ended with the villain catching the hero at the last second, or with a dramatic rescue by someone who had been searching the whole time. Here, the rescue is coming from inside the enemy's house, and that changes the rhythm completely. Pascal is not arriving with guns blazing from the outside. He is walking Jocelyn out the door and then having to run with her. That forces both of them into a situation where trust has to be built in minutes rather than months. Jocelyn has every reason to doubt him, yet she may have no choice if she wants to stay alive. Pascal, for his part, has stepped so far outside his old role that there is no going back. The moment Sidwell gives the order to bring them both in, the story stops being about one prisoner and becomes about two people trying to stay ahead of a man who does not forgive betrayal. The obsession Sidwell is developing toward Pascal's actions is what keeps the tension rising every day this week. It is not just anger. It is the realization that someone he relied on has begun to think for himself. That kind of shift always leads to bigger consequences on this show. I remember similar moments years ago when a seemingly minor character decided to switch sides, and within a few weeks, entire families were redrawing their alliances. This feels like one of those moments. Sidwell's decision to hunt both Pascal and Jocelyn will not stay contained to Windermere. It will spill into the streets of Port Charles, into Sonny's territory, and possibly even into the edges of the WSB world that Jack and Valentine know so well. The writers are giving us a slow burn that suddenly feels ready to explode, and that is exactly the kind of storytelling that has kept me loyal to General Hospital through all the changes in cast and time slots over the decades. What I appreciate most is that the show is not rushing the emotional side of these choices. Jocelyn is not simply grateful to be free. She is wary, calculating, still looking for any sign that Pascal might turn on her the moment it becomes convenient. Pascal, on the other hand, is carrying the weight of knowing he has burned his bridges with Sidwell and must now find a way to reach Sonny without getting either of them killed along the way. Those quiet layers of doubt and determination are what make the danger feel real rather than just another chase scene. Every time we see Jocelyn glance over her shoulder or Pascal check a hallway before moving forward, I feel the same knot in my stomach I used to feel watching the old Luke and Laura adventures. It is that same mix of fear and hope that has always defined the best weeks of this program. I keep wondering how far Sidwell will go once he confirms that Pascal has chosen to protect Jocelyn. Will he send men after them immediately, or will he first try to use Cassius to clean up the mess? Cassius is already in trouble for letting Jocelyn get as far as she did. If Sidwell orders him to fix the situation, Cassius will be caught between his own failure and the growing realization that Pascal is no longer on the same side. That kind of pressure usually leads to mistakes, and mistakes on this show tend to open doors for other characters to step in. I would not be surprised if Sonny's people begin to hear whispers about a butler and a young woman on the run before the week is over. Once those whispers reach Sonny, the entire balance of power in Port Charles could tilt in a new direction. The crazy adjustment the writers have introduced by letting Pascal rescue Jocelyn is working because it respects the history we already know while still feeling unpredictable. We have seen Pascal as the quiet, efficient presence in Sidwell's world for long enough to understand what he is risking. We have watched Jocelyn grow from a child who lost too much too soon into a young woman who refuses to be anyone's pawn. Putting those two together in a desperate run for safety creates a partnership that no one saw coming. It also creates the perfect setup for the larger questions the show loves to explore. What does loyalty really mean when the person giving the orders has lost your respect? How far will someone go to protect another person when doing so means losing everything they once had? These are the questions that keep longtime viewers like me talking with friends and family long after the episode ends. By the middle of this week, the story has already moved past the simple question of whether Jocelyn would escape her room. Now we are watching two people try to stay alive while an entire organization turns its attention toward catching them. Sidwell's obsession with restoring control is driving the plot forward at a pace that feels both urgent and careful. He cannot afford to look weak, yet every move he makes to find Pascal and Jocelyn risks exposing more of his own operation. That tension is what makes the days ahead so compelling. I find myself checking the clock in the afternoon, counting the hours until the next episode, because I genuinely do not know which way the writers will turn next. Will Pascal and Jocelyn find temporary safety with someone connected to Sonny? Will Carly discover the truth in time to help? Will Cassius try one last desperate act to regain Sidwell's favor? Every possibility feels alive right now. What keeps me coming back after all these years is exactly this feeling that the ground can shift under any character at any moment. I have seen heroes fall and villains find unexpected redemption. I have watched families torn apart and then slowly rebuilt. The current situation with Jocelyn, Pascal, Cassius, and Sidwell is doing all of those things at once. It is giving us the immediate thrill of a chase, while also laying the groundwork for bigger changes that could affect Sonny, Carly, Valentine, and even the edges of the WSB world. The fact that Pascal's decision to side with Sonny is the spark that sets everything in motion makes the story feel personal rather than just another criminal plot. It reminds me that even in the darkest corners of Port Charles, people are still capable of choosing a different path. I have no doubt that the coming episodes will keep raising the stakes. Sidwell will not stop at simply wanting Pascal and Jocelyn brought back. He will want to make an example of them, and that kind of determination usually brings out the best and worst in everyone else. Sonny's world will feel the disturbance. Carly's protective instincts will flare the moment she senses her daughter is in real trouble. Valentine may find himself caught between what he thought he knew about Jack's plans and the reality of what is actually happening on the ground. All of these threads are being pulled tighter with each passing day, and the result is the kind of sustained excitement that makes General Hospital feel essential again. As I sit here thinking about where we are headed, I cannot help but feel grateful for the writers who still understand how to balance danger with heart. They have given us a Jocelyn who is resourceful and brave without making her invincible. They have given us a Pascal whose quiet choice to help her carries real weight because we have seen the world he is leaving behind. They have given us a Sidwell, whose growing obsession makes him more dangerous than ever, yet still believable. And they have done it all while keeping the door open for Sonny's influence to enter the story in a meaningful way. That combination is what turns a simple escape attempt into something that feels larger than any single episode.